Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Kayla. I'm an American currently living and working abroad in Spain. So here is where you will find tips, tricks, recommendations, things about my own personal experiences living, working, and studying abroad here in Spain. So hopefully some of this can help you out. Today what I'm going to be talking about is something that most friends and family, random people on social media, people have asked me knowing that I'm in Spain, what's it like living the coronavirus pandemic over here? That's something that every single day now things are changing as we are coming out of quarantine slowly but surely, little by little. We're still pretty much in quarantine, more or less. The lockdown is thriving still here in Spain, but the things that have changed have been pretty big on a societal level. So what I want to focus on today is how society is actually changing in Spain based on these past 2 months, well, over 2 months now that we have lived in confinement and lockdown. So I'd like to share this with you. So I have 4 main things that are personally things that I have noticed in differences in Spanish society, like norms and customs. I'm saving the best for last, so please watch these other 3 quick societal changes before we get to the last one, okay? So the first thing I wanted to talk about is remote work. So anyone who has lived in Spain or studied in Spain, anyone that's had to do any sort of paperwork in Spain, I should address it that way, or administration, you will know that Spanish bureaucracy and administration is a nightmare. It can be very, very frustrating, very difficult to sort of work your way through and to manage. So one thing that we see is that oftentimes you have to make appointments to go in person to different offices to do things that really are not that important, or things that maybe you could have just called about or sent an email, but people refuse and they say that you have to be there. So I'm thinking that we're seeing a lot more efficiency really in the Spanish labor market right now, and people are starting to realize that remote work is an option. While remote work is becoming more and more possible and more common in Western countries, and I'm seeing more and more jobs online back home from the US that pop up that are remote work opportunities, especially with things like social media or anything we have to work online where you can do it from anywhere really. That's not really something that's been accepted in Spain, and not something we're really doing. Everything's still very much in person, and we're seeing that there's an acceptance of that, and I feel like Spanish society will sort of become a bit more efficient, or at least I hope so. I'm seeing that with this acceptance, we are starting to realize that we can cut out the middleman with a lot of things and just directly send an email with that information or make a phone call, do things that way instead of doing things in person and not waiting in lines for an hour to do things when someone could be doing it on their own time back at home from their own personal office. So I think that'll be something that'll be really good for the Spanish labor market long term. The second thing I've noticed is the difference in mentality when it comes to at home or self-learning. So this is something that like I said before, everything is done in person. You know, that's the way it is. And the idea of doing homeschooling is actually something that's not even allowed in Spain. Homeschooling is actually against the law in Spain, and there's a bunch of background on as to why that is. I won't go into that here. But so homeschooling is not permitted. And so now what we're seeing is all of these children, teenagers, and adults having to continue their education online and do things themselves, find these at-home resources. Teachers like myself teaching English online, being challenged to find different resources to share new experiences with your students, and students being able to prove themselves or show how well they can do to professors all through online learning. And I think this is really changing the Spanish mentality about how we think about education, seeing that parents are there seeing exactly what their kids are doing in school. They know what they need help in, what they don't, and I think there is going to be a greater awareness on what do children actually need most support in. I think the education system is going to be completely revamped in Spain once this is over. I think Spanish education is sort of different within various regions, sort of like how in the US we have, you know, federal laws and education that needs to be met, and then we have state laws and state testing and those sorts of things. So some states are known for having really, really great education, and then other states are known for not having as great of education. So here, there are certain areas that are the same, really well known for education and not. So some areas are having a lot of success with their online learning and some areas not. So I think this is going to be something that long term, these different educational establishments are going to learn how to better the services that they can give when it comes to homework, when it comes to what support do students actually need. We're going to see how professors can better their way of sharing education with their students so that we can create more interactive opportunities. So that's the second thing that I think will really be changing in Spanish society within the next couple of years as a result of the coronavirus. The third thing I want to talk about is personal space. So anyone that has visited Spain or been in Spain for more than a couple days, really it doesn't take you that long to even be able to tell, but the idea of personal space, having your own personal bubble in Spain, it does not exist, especially if you're around children. Or even adults. People are just very affectionate. You kiss each other on the cheek to sort of say hello or goodbye, even if it's a complete stranger, just to sort of say what's up. It's just very common, and you're just very in close proximity all the time with a lot of people, and that's not weird. Like in the street, people are always close to each other. At bars, people are close to each other. At a family reunion, everyone is close to each other. Just like a lot of closeness, something that really overwhelmed me and made me feel like, please get away, especially my first summer when I was au pairing here. I remember I explained to the kids a million times, look, this is my space, this is your space, personal bubble, and it was something they didn't get at all, and I felt like they were being rude to me, but really this is just a part of Spanish culture. So this is something that's been really hard for Spanish people to change that Mediterranean sort of mentality. If we think of Italians and how Italians are we think of them as like louder people. They're always together and touching each other and kissing each other and hugging each other. That's sort of the way Spanish people are as well. And it's just their way of showing that that they're being kind to one another. They're showing affection. And it's a really beautiful thing once you can do it. But now that we can't, that's been really difficult for lots of friends and families who haven't been able to have that closeness with one another. And they've had difficult. I think that's something that will change as soon as we are fully out of quarantine, as soon as people won't get reprimanded by law enforcement for being close to one another or hugging or kissing each other. They'll do it all over again. I think that'll go away pretty soon. And the last one I want to talk about, and the most important, is something that I really, really hope remains a part of Spanish society after we are fully out of lockdown, and I really think it will. In Spain, we have this idea of, you always hang out with your cuadrilla or your peña, which is like your close group of friends, and if not those people that have been your friends forever, well, you're hanging out with your close family, those sorts of things. And besides that, you don't really branch out. You don't really go out of your way to meet new people. People sort of stay in those same friend groups forever. They don't really go changing friends a lot. It's not as common to move really far away from home. So you keep those same friend groups and can establish those relationships a lot easier living here in Spain, and just based on their culture and their traditions and norms. But now we're seeing that that's had to change a lot. So one thing that Spanish people have been doing, if you've seen some stuff on my social media, I've been sharing how Spanish people at 8 o'clock every night, they've been going out on their balconies or from their windows and clapping, cheering, applauding, playing music for people that are currently working in law enforcement, firefighters, first aid responders. The public healthcare system will need some time to recuperate, I think, from this hit. However, we're not in the state of crisis that we were in before. However, we still keep going out and applauding and cheering. And I've heard some people ask me, like, why do we still keep doing this? Or why is this important? Or are you still cheering? Or like, why? But now we're just sort of like, we just put music on and we just all sort of like hang out with each other. Like people will have like a drink together, like from across the way, like, hey, like with your beer, your glass of wine on the balconies. We have birthday parties for other people, which is something that we started in quarantine, and we've just continued it. So we still, we have group chats with other neighbors across the way, and we'll say like happy birthday to so-and-so, and we'll make signs and posters and sort of surprise them with something that we all coordinate amongst ourselves to do for them that night, something special, and we just all talk. Like I've made friends with my neighbors that these are people I never would have spoken to, and I honestly, since we've moved here to Bilbao, we felt sort of isolated. We don't have really connections with other friends or family that live here, so it's been really hard to integrate ourselves socially. And now we feel like a sense of belonging on our street, and we can just like say hi or like talk to people that we see, which is something that's really, really important, especially when you're living abroad, and when on top of it you're locked in your house the majority of the time. So that's been really, really amazing. So this sense of closeness that we have not just between family and friends, but also expanding that sense of closeness and offering that friendship to neighbors is something that I think is really, really special that Spanish people really haven't done before. And that's been really incredible for me. So that's what I wanted to share with all of you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any more questions about what it's like to live the coronavirus pandemic or lockdown here in Spain, how things have been different, how things are going to change in the future, go ahead and drop a comment below. Questions. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe if you're interested in hearing more things about living abroad, studying abroad, language learning, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.